Hello guys. Today I want to talk about something that is integral, fundamental, something that underlies every experience that I have and will ever have for the rest of time. And this concept, it's not even a concept, that's the thing, but I would like to give you a concept so that you may grasp what I'm on about. Just preparing my voice, clearing the tubes of my vessel to impart this wisdom. When we're born, we are effectively brand new. We are like a spark that is waiting, a spark that is really hungry to get out there, to become acquainted with all of the things of this reality, all of the experiences of this reality, all the feelings one can feel, all the creative ways that one can express oneself. And we live in a society where from day one we are given dummies. We're given outside stimulation that isn't good for us, actually, because I'm going to get straight to the point, because I don't think there's any time to waste really in skirting around this idea. We all live in a kingdom of our minds, and that doesn't really describe it in its entirety, but it's a good concept to use nevertheless. Every experience that you experience, every feeling that you feel, is all arising in the same space. It's all arising in the kingdom of your mind. Your feeling of having a body, your feeling of the cold, every experience you experience, I cannot stress this enough, is arising in the same space. Now, that space does have a feeling of size in a sense, not in a physical sense, but in a sense of sometimes, here's an example, sometimes something happens, you're having a conversation, you're going through something and it becomes too much. You get this feeling that it becomes too much. It feels like that feeling, whatever it may be, is filling up your entire vessel, has effectively consumed you. This could be worrying, it could be the cold, it could just be anything. It could be someone else. Someone else's existence seems to be filling all the space that you have. But anyone who's had any kind of life experience will have learnt that this space is a kingdom that can be expanded. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Because when you can expand this kingdom, when someone, I get a lot of people. I've had a lot of altercations. I've had, security guards beat me up for not wearing shoes. I had a security guard in Tesco, pinning me against the wall. I may not be physically strong compared to some of these security guards, I can be overpowered physically. But when you go through shit on a regular basis, when you have these very difficult interactions with the world on a regular basis, when you feel life fully on a regular basis, you've got one of two options in reality. You can either pick up your dummy and, you know, start sucking on it, or you can expand your kingdom so that the next time you have a situation that arises, it doesn't feel like it's taking up that much space. It feels kind of like a blip, you know. I still get the same situations arising. I still have difficult conversations. I still feel feelings. I still feel everything I felt in the past, but it's all happening in a much larger kingdom. And my kingdom is ever expanding. There's no limit. You think that there is a limit, and you think you can't really imagine actually how powerful this thing is. It's truly incomprehensible what your true potential is. And it's taken me a lot of pain and boredom and all of the feelings that people are trying to avoid these days to grow my kingdom. It's taken me a lot. It's been a very interesting journey. It's not been an easy journey, but it's been the most fulfilling, rewarding experience I could have ever asked for in this reality. It has been wonderful, and every day I wake up with a sense of wonder. Like, there's nothing more that I need. I don't need to check my phone first thing in the morning. I don't need to eat food. I don't need to put on shoes. I don't need to do anything. And once you don't need anything, you don't need a dummy, metaphorically, then you are on the path to becoming an artist. This is what I know. This is not hearsay. This is not my belief. This is what I've experienced, and all I can give to you is my experience. And it's wonderful. It's 1 degree outside, 1 degrees, and I'm still not wearing any shoes. And people come up to me all the time. They're like, "Are your feet not cold? Are you not cold?" When you say you, what do you think you're referring to? When I say me, what am I referring to? When I say me, it's just a word letting you know I'm talking about this, you know, I'm talking about my experience. It doesn't mean I'm reducing what I am to a word. What me is not a singular thing at all. I am a universe. I'm a very large universe. And that's not coming from my ego. That's not coming from anything other than my very experience in this moment. I don't feel small. A skull is compact, deceptively compact. Looks like, well, there couldn't be much going on inside of a human skull. But your experience is infinite. We all know that on some level. Your experience is infinite. Your capacity for experience is infinite. There is no limit. There are no guide rails. There is no tape around it, you know? And this is really what I want to point out for people, because it needs pointing out. Because it's, you know, it's easy to look at these uncomfortable feelings and emotions and thoughts and whatnot and think of it as something's wrong, I need to do something about it, which is a very human instinct. You know, it's very human to feel bored, to feel all the feelings you feel individually for boredom, and then to act on it, to think, okay, well, I need to do something about this. And that something is going to be generally the closest dummy available. For many people, that is a phone, a mobile phone, drugs. Now, funnily enough, drugs and mobile phones have a place in my kingdom. They are a very, very valuable resource to me. I have a phone. I'm using a phone right now. I had a coffee this morning. Drugs and phones have a place in my kingdom. But it's really up to you to decide whether such things have a place in your kingdom. I can't tell you that anything that has a place in my kingdom has a place in your kingdom, because your kingdom is different. Everywhere you go in the world is a different climate. You get different animals, you get different issues, you get different everything. It's like a different skin, you know, it's like may as well be a different universe. They speak a different language. And it's the same with us. It's the same with human beings. We are different, or may as well be different universes. We interact just like galaxies, in fact, collide with each other. They collide, and everything in the universe collides eventually. We all get sucked. We're all going to get sucked into a bloody great big black hole eventually. But we're all different, you know. Every planet is different. Every planet in the whole universe is different. There may well be a bunch of planets that seem like Earth, that look like they might support life, but the life you may find on those planets will be different. And what I'm saying is that these universal principles are universal. They don't just apply to galaxies and whatnot and planets. They apply to everything, all the way up and down the scale. The largest things in the universe to the smallest things in the universe all share the same fundamental principles, that we're all different. Everything's different but the same. Everything shares similar fundamental properties, but all those things express themselves in different ways. And this is what makes the universe a very interesting place. If everything truly was the same, there would be no such field of study as science, because you find one planet and then you want to go find another planet. But if everything was the same, science would be complete after the finding of one single planet. You know, the field of astronomy would be, planets exist, this is how a planet works, and there's nothing more to be said, and we can explore another topic. But that is not the case. Astronomy is a field that there are likely many people wanting to get into right now. I don't know. I hope there are, because there's more to discover. There's always more on the horizon. That's a fact. There's always new experiences to be had. There's always more to understand, more wisdom to be gained. But what we can begin to discover is something fundamental and underlying within ourselves, within the universe, within every aspect of nature. There is something fundamental, and it runs through all of us. And it's really about taking a moment to pause and smell the roses. All it takes is to look around to experience what you're experiencing in its entirety, and not to get wrapped up in the detail. Anything can happen anytime. That's my motto, somewhat. And we can live by slogans, but it's not the truth. Hello.
Hi. Oh, this way.
Hello.
Good boy. Thank you.
Silence is a key component of my life. Without silence, without space, without a bit of breathing space, it's really impossible to grow. All of my growth is done by confronting the emptiness, by looking within, by turning my attention towards my own kingdom rather than always turning my attention to the outside world. Because ultimately they are one. They are inseparable. Your outside world is a reflection of the inside world. You can't hope to grow your kingdom without exploring. Hiya. So I urge you to look at what's uncomfortable. Look at what challenges you. And next time you reach for metaphorical dummy, think twice. Have a think about it. Have a real good think. Is this going to help me to fill my kingdom with joy, prosperity, abundance? Really ask yourself that. And a lot of the time you'll find, if you are someone who is a product of this society, that a lot of the things that you reach for are actually detracting from your kingdom. They are not serving any purpose in your kingdom. Imagine you are literally the king of a kingdom, and you're sitting on your throne. All your people are in front of you, and you're scrolling through TikTok. What does that say to the people? What kind of message is that sending? Not a very good one, I'll tell you that. But if you, oh my God, nearly bloody flicked my tripod out of my hand. If you, instead of scrolling through TikTok, you're on your throne and you address your people, Not in a way that you're asking for validation, not with any angle, but for the pure love of the kingdom, with the best of intentions for this realm. And what happens is your people will look back at you and will say, you know what? We like this guy. He should be the king. And it's beautiful. To be the king of your own kingdom, to me, is what it means to be a fully fledged human being. Without having gone down this line, without having followed this true path, without facing your fears, without standing by good principles and values, life is not worth living. There is no life. It's ghostly. It is very cold and dark. You know? Imagine if the sun itself decided it was going to take a break from its solar system so that it could scroll through TikTok. Because it got bored. It got bored of rising in the morning and setting in the evening. The sun just got bored. We'd be fucked. We would be fucked. And that is the truth. The universe is cold and dark. And that's why such things as stars exist. To fill the universe with light and joy and prosperity and abundance and stories. Without the sun, we are nothing. The sun fills us with light so that we can fill the world with light. So, what it comes down to, in simple everyday terms, is stop picking up the dummy and start facing your fears. That's a starting point. And when you're bored, when you feel that feeling of boredom, become interested. Become very curious about what that actually is. Because boredom is really just a label this society seems to apply to anyone who is, or to when the truth starts to come to the surface. The truth about our nature, the truth about all the unaddressed emotions and whatnot that we've always ignored. That, to me, is what boredom is. It is fear of the truth. And the other thing that boredom is a portal to another to another dimension of being. That dimension being the kingdom within. And the more you look at this thing that people call boredom and pain and cold and the dark, the more you look at those things, the more that you make friends with these things. You use them as tools. So when people say to me, "Are you cold?" It's quite hard to answer, to be honest, because in the kingdom that I inhabit 24/7, 365 days a year, we have an alliance with the cold. We are friends with the cold. We are friends with pain and boredom. These are our allies in our kingdom. So it's quite hard to answer that question, are you cold? Because there's no I to be cold. The kingdom's not cold. Morning. I live in a very warm kingdom. I live in a very abundant kingdom, a very prosperous kingdom, a very insightful kingdom. And so, such things as the cold and money, all things that people associate with something bad, I've formed an alliance with these things. Our kingdom has formed an alliance with these things. As the king of my kingdom, I have formed an alliance with all these things that I was once very scared of. And it is what a good king must do. If your neighbors are your enemies, what hope is there for your kingdom? Your fate is inevitable. One day, your enemies, who are your neighbors, are going to knock on your door. And that is when you must face it, whether you like it or not. And what you can do is retreat. You can allow your kingdom to be overthrown by your neighboring enemies. But there's a much better way. We form alliances with our enemies. We become friends with them. We gain an understanding of each other. We become allies who work together. We fuel each other. We create even larger kingdoms by working together, by becoming friends with our enemies. I could go round and round and tell you this in many, many, many ways. I could use a million analogies, a million metaphors, but ultimately it comes back to the same thing. How spacious do you feel? You've got to look at that. How able are you to sit in a room with nothing but yourself? What is your capacity for experience? What is your capacity for humanity? Can you sit and talk to someone who is in a dark place? Can you become friends with your enemies? And the answer is yes, you can. In all situations. In all ways, you can befriend and get to know your enemies. And then they cease to be your enemies. They become integral parts of reality. They become tools. They become very powerful allies. They don't rule you. You don't rule them. You just have an understanding. You don't get in each other's ways. You allow each other into each other. You allow the cold in. The cold allows you. You allow pain and boredom. And then pain and boredom open up and they become a space for you. And quite honestly, I don't think there's much more to say on this particular day. I would like to leave it at that and wish you the best of luck with what you're doing. And if you want practical advice, I don't like to give advice, but if you want practical guidance, look at what you are not comfortable with. Look at what really challenges you to your core. Look at what makes you want to run the other way. And this is not going to be easy. You won't make change overnight. You won't expand your kingdom overnight. But Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take a lot of courage. It's going to take a lot. But when you give it all you've got, you will receive everything reality has got to offer. You will inherit everything that you deserve. You will have the life that you want. You will be the person who you want to be. You will have abundance. But the longer that you run the other the longer that you run the other way, the more your kingdom will diminish and be ruled by your enemies. And we don't want that to happen. So I'll leave you with that. And hope to see you again tomorrow. Toodaloo.